grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifter's Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and today I wanted to bring on this monster bench presser and someone who just entered a very elite club of bench of the 1200 Club. Tony, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Tony Carlino here. Just became the second person to ever eclipse that 1,200-pound benchmark.
Yeah, so I guess we'll kind of just start off with that hot topic and kind of dive into it. Obviously, Jimmy Kolb's kind of the king of the bench press, and now you're kind of climbing up. I'm assuming the next goal for you would be 13.
Yeah. The goal for that meet was 13, but it took 3 tries to get 12. So, but yeah, the ultimate goal is 13. And then we'll see what happens after that. But that's the next step for sure.
Yeah, and so I know that for this meet you use the Mendy, and I know that shirt is kind of I guess a little bit controversial. I know someone else that kind of has it. I know that they've been really struggling with it. It's a very difficult shirt to use. Maybe kind of tell everybody a bit about the shirt and maybe what makes it so complicated compared to the F8.
Yeah, I think it's just it's more of aggressive material. It has, if you're familiar with the F8 line, F8 brand, they have things called figure eights
Yep.
that you can use. And so the Mindy shirt has figure eights sewn into like the chest plates. So it's like every layer has a figure eight in it already. And so it's a 3-ply, but it's also got 3 layers of figure eights in there without having to wear them under a shirt, as an insert or something like that. So, and it's more of I think it's more of an aggressive material that he uses, and it's more of a poly groove, the line that you would use. F8s and some of the other brands kind of come out flared, and I think that's a really good thing for new people who aren't as experienced in poly, but and that's why it would be more difficult to use the mini shirt right off the bat because it's just it's more aggressive material and the groove is just a little bit more different than you would like your raw lifts. I think an F8 is kind of tailored more towards a raw technique-ish, if you will.
Yeah, and I guess for my experience, I've put on the F8 a couple times, and I'm obviously around a lot of people in the sport that use it, and I think one of the differences with like band shirts, at least for the F8, is that you can touch with way lighter weights, but with the Mendy, you kind of actually have to use it more like a poly, where you have to use an insane amount of weight to actually be able to touch properly with it.
Yeah, I can't touch. The one I have is just a 3-ply. It's an XL 3-ply. And I came like a hair away from touching 11-13. I can't touch anything less than let's say like 11-15 in it, and then the 3-ply. So in the F8 3-ply though, you can wear it where 800 is easy to touch, but you can also wear it where 500 is easy to touch. It just depends on how you wear it. It's a lot easier, more durable, versatile shirt than the mini for sure.
Yeah, and I do know that. Well, you said it took you all 3 attempts to get to the 1200.
Yeah, so I opened up 1107 in a F8 and I got it. Took 2 attempts at 12. And the IPA, evidently, I didn't know this rule, but if you're going for a record, even if you didn't get your last lift, you can still go for a fourth.
Okay.
So they let me take a fourth, and I got it on the fourth.
Yeah, and I know in training you had 1300 in your hands a couple of times. What did you successfully get it to in training?
13. So I took 1300 to a one board. I did it once for a double, and then once for a single.
And so I guess up next, I know you're doing that that meet with the where you do single ply, multiply, and poly, right, or unlimited, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So what's kind of I guess the prep looking like for that, because obviously it's much different than a normal meet prep or even a bench only prep, because you have to train all facets of gear.
Yeah. So it's actually not this Saturday; it's the next Saturday. So I have my training's done for it. Um, I kind of had to throw in poly work in between my band shirt work for the last meet to get ready for the F8 meet. So usually I would do one shirt week off, shirt week off, like every other week in the shirt. But this time I had to throw in some poly in my in between weeks. Made training for the other meet a little more difficult, but my choice. I had to do it. So I trained in a single ply twice, and I just this past Tuesday trained in a multiply once to find openers, and then go into the meet and kind of see what happens. I know around what I can touch for a solid opener, and then we get 2 attempts in each shirt,
Yeah.
so I'll just kind of send a second one and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think this is a pretty cool and interesting meet, and I think it comes down to kind of the strategy of it. So maybe tell us a little bit about your strategy going into this.
Yeah, strategy is to touch something light for me, but also heavy enough to because the winner is based on coefficient, so you can't go too light. So heavy enough to kind of keep my body weight and my coefficient above other people's, and but light enough to get. I think a key is going to be getting a lift in each single, multi, and unlimited.
Yeah,
I feel like if you get 2 lifts, if you bomb 2 of them, you can't bomb out of this meet, but if you miss both those, you're pretty much screwed. So getting one lift in regardless is going to be very key to it. So that's why I want to open up a little lighter than I normally would in just like a bench only.
yeah. And who are some of the other big names in this meet that you're competing against?
A couple of people dropped out, bigger names, but people that are still in it, Bob Merck, he's a big venture, and the other real big one is Greg Powell. He's not a heavy guy, he's like in 242s, but he's still, those 2 guys I think are going to be the main competition out there.
Yeah, and I know in a recent post too that you kind of said you wanted to get to 1,000 in a poly. Maybe what are the plans for that in terms of after this meet? Kind of what are the goals looking like for that?
Yeah. Well, on my multiply attempts, I'm open 850. Well, I might open 9. It just depends on where my body weight's at. 850 or 9, and then I think depending on how I feel, I'm just gonna go for it. Yeah, it would be great to just. 'Cause I'm not enjoying poly as much. Being in the band shirt, they're so nice. Poly just beats you up. But I think it's the most legit, equipment out there as far as band shirt, in poly. So, but if I don't get it this meet, I don't know. I'm gonna take a break after this meet. I've done this will be 4 meets in like 25 weeks.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so it's a lot of lifts over 1,000 and so on. So I'm gonna take the rest of the year off of competing and then see what happens next year. But that's been my first and my only real goal since I started powerlifting back in December 2012. Is
Yeah.
1,000 pound poly.
So I kind of have one more question about, I guess, the band shirts itself. Is for me personally, I think obviously it's just a different part of the sport, and obviously there's different controversies to it. But I think my biggest problem with it is that anytime now that you have a geared or multiply meet that allows band shirts that has prize money for it, they kind of just get flooded with band shirts. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see like let's say at the Arnold they have the last man standing, and the first year I did it, I think it was the first year that band shirts were kind of coming out because when I first did the qualifier for it, they were there, and a lot of us didn't have a clue what they were. Um, and now this past year, there was just all band shirts. I would like to see a meet just poly, just straight up, like because it's kind of it's you don't see this much anymore. You WPO and stuff, but you really just see band shirts now. Every now and again, you see a poly, and it's kind of like, oh, look at that's cool. Like you don't see them. I would love to see uh big meets, money meets for that comeback. That'd be awesome. I would do them. I love doing it. Poly's more fun to me watching to me than a band shirt. Band shirts are great. The numbers are awesome. You put up crazy numbers. I just hit 1,200, but when I hit 1,000, no matter what I hit in a band, when I hit 1,000 poly, that's going to be my greatest, my most memorable, my most uh, greatest thing I've done to me
Yeah.
in the sport.
Yeah,
So.
and I think I totally agree with your opinion on that. I think a lot of the issues arise about the banters is more of the people that really haven't gotten the experience in a single ply or even a poly shirt and just kind of go, oh, I just want to immediately just do the easier thing and put on a
Yep.
bench and press a lot more.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I get it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a less of a learning curve, but hitting the big numbers are cool. But the journey along the way, learning a poly shirt, hating the poly shirt, and then learning to love it is like it's all part of it. And you look back at and at the journey, it's taken me uh, 12 years, and I still haven't hit my main goal. I wasn't close to it then, but but that journey along the way and what you learn and what you see and the ups and downs is you, I don't think you're really going to get that as much in these band shirts. People are going to put them on and start hitting some big numbers. In saying that, I just looked up how many people have hit 1,000 in a band, and it's 34. The amount of people who've hit 1,000 in a poly is 7.
Yeah.
So it's crazy the amount. So
Yeah. And then, so I guess maybe a little bit about your, like, sorry, getting into like the early start of your career, kind of what introduced you to powerlifting, and kind of where did you start off? Did you start off right in gear? Did you start off raw? What was your kind of journey like in that aspect?
yeah, so me and my buddy used to train. He doesn't powerlift anymore, but we trained together, and we were always going heavy. We were watching the super training videos online and all that, and I was like, man, this stuff it hurts, But if I'm going to keep doing it, I need to find a meet and see if I really love it. So I found a meet, the USAPL meet, 2 weeks out, and I jumped in at bench only. Did it raw. I started out raw, 220s. I think the first time competition I ended up with like a 374 bench at 220. But I was hooked. At December, I think it was December 10th, 2012, my first meet. Uh, Started out raw. I got in gear the next year, later on the next year, but um, yeah, started out raw. Did a couple raw meets, did a couple raw full power meets, but now it's mainly just bench only. I'll throw in a full power here.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask that if you kind of still had interest in kind of competing in full power now that you're kind of, I guess, one of the best benchers equipped.
Yeah, after this meet, I have a couple goals. At the F8 meet, if I can hit them. Um, let's say I do hit them next year, I'll jump into full power. I was gonna do this last meet where I hit 12 full power. I trained for it for like 2 weeks, and I was like, nah. Like I hate training full power so much, but I'm a decent squatter. I'm not a good puller at all, but I'll train it. I want to be good. I want to put up a decent number at some point. Full power. I don't want to do it long. I've always had a goal to squat 1,000. That's not a big, huge thing anymore.
Yeah,
Everybody's doing it, but to me, if I could squat 1,000, bench 1,000, that's pretty cool. Um, and I can do it. I ran training. I just jumped into a squat suit and I hit a 1055. It was a little high. Wouldn't have counted to me, but it wasn't very hard. So I'm like, actually train depth and all that. I think I could do it pretty decent. So yeah, next year, I think a full power meet if everything goes good this year.
yeah. So for me, currently, I'm actually just like learning the gear now, and I'm doing my first full power multiply meet in September. And I mean,
Oh, okay.
the training's been going pretty well, and I just know that the full meet days, everyone, all the multiply guys are like, yeah, just getting through a full power multiply meet is just a son of a bitch to do.
It is. It is. Yeah, I did one 2 years ago. Rob's meet, an F8. Well, it wasn't an F8 meet, but it was Rob's meet. Um, and I don't like them. Like it sucks. It's nice to just go in, weight the bench 3 times to be done. It's great.
Yeah, and especially someone who's benching as much as you are, I can only imagine how your hands look after trying to go into
Yeah.
deadlifts.
Yeah. Oh God. I don't know. And those that meet, I haven't benched that much in the meet. And I haven't done even in a band shirt. I've only done. I did that one in a band shirt full power. I did it poly. Was gonna bomb, so I switched to the band shirt on third attempt. Got it. But yeah, I couldn't imagine going 11, 12, and then trying to deadlift. Have to open up like 135 just so you don't bomb.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of that's why one of the jokes I've been saying is like I'm not gonna be benching enough in the shirt to have to worry about my hands swelling up anyways. So
Not yet.
so I guess we can talk a little bit about your training. Obviously being a bench only guy, that's kind of I mean you said you still do full power, but being a mostly bench guy, obviously that's kind of more the main focus of your training. But maybe walk us through like what a week of your training looks like.
Yeah. So Monday is off. I take Monday off. Tuesday is shirted bench. Wednesdays off. Um, and when I do my shirted bench, it's only shirt bench. There's no accessories or anything after that. I might do some drop down sets, just depending on how heavy I went that day.
Yeah.
Um, but then Wednesday's off. Thursday is back, heavy back, upper back training. Friday is usually my secondary bench day. With then I'll kill accessories, triceps, bench. So I do a lot of bamboo bar benching, earthquake bar, whatever you want to call it. Um, I think it helps a lot, especially in these band shirts, because you can get a little wonky on the way down. But yeah, hammer triceps, shoulders, um, and then Saturday's usually off, and Sunday is another. It's like a fluff and buff day, light back, throw in some legs here and there, but nothing too crazy. And I just kind of take that and try to recover as much as I can going into the next heavy bench day. And then the next week, because I start up every other week, I'll get in a bench device. It's not raw when I'm training for a meet, slingshot, a Raven, a Widowmaker. And then on that day, I will hit my accessories. So it's like in every other week, I'll hit my bench accessories on the heavy day.
Yeah, and
So
so what are some of the, I guess, secondaries or like other bench movements that you use besides actually benching that really help your bench?
I do a ton of cable work. Um, I saw Cole. He did these things called like shrug tricep push downs. You get
Yep.
like a lat pull down bar and you shrug up, and it killed my. So I've been doing a ton of those. I'll do overhead tricep extension with the rope, but it's like with the ab rope. It's not the rope. It's like I don't know. I can feel it better with the ones that you can put your hands inside.
Like the Spud Ink ones?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and then I'll go overhead, and then I can come out and extend like this, kind of like you're locking out a bench.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get that good stretch back there. I love dumbbell rollovers that Ryan Kennelly's made famous. JM press, and then yeah, those are the main staples. Sometimes I'll throw in some banded tape presses. Um, other than that, just yeah, on my secondary day, I'll do some cable like just rope push downs or the V grip and just get a pump.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the cold with the shrug because I tried that one week and now I won't do push downs any other way because I literally had to drop the stack like in half when I did that because it just got so much heavier and you could feel it 10
Yeah,
times more.
exactly. If you do it right, oh my god, it kills. Yeah, the first time I did, I'm like, I'm doing this every week. So
Yeah. And so where just tell everybody maybe where you train out of as well.
I train at CTX because actually we moved. It is CTX still, CTX Barbell in Orlando, but we kind of merged with a gym called I4 Fit. Um, we had the lease on the place we were at was up, so we had to find another place, and they let us into the gym. So it's still CTX, but it's inside I4 Fitness.
Yeah, so I was actually down in Florida end of May, and we didn't end up going, but that was actually one of the gyms we were gonna stop by, so that's kind of funny.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it's a good gym. It's a great gym. When it was at the warehouse, it didn't have a ton of accessory stuff. A little bit here, and we may do it with what we could, but the gym right now has got everything. So you could do so many more accessory things and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's nice.
So when I was down in Florida at the meet, and I think you can ask anybody that was there, the temperature and the humidity was just absolutely brutal. So what's it kind of like having to train down in Florida?
Yeah, luckily for me, it's not that bad. The gym now is well, it was air conditioning, but it works better now since it's in like a main gym building. So it's really not that bad. We have AC, we have great training conditions. I work inside, so the heat doesn't isn't really play a factor in the training at where I train at.
So let's dive a little bit into the mindset too of I guess just holding that much weight in your hands, maybe kind of some of the mental prep or like the mental fortitude it takes to be able to even attempt a weight like that.
Yeah, that all stems from just working up over the years, kind of like we were talking about before, baby stepping with Polly. I don't think I could do it if I didn't have those years of just working up slowly, because it's kind of like Ed Cohn. I think he said like 900 on his back felt like 315 when he could only squat 315. So it doesn't feel that heavy in my hands. Um, but you do have to be locked in. Yeah, it's, dead laser focused. I'm squeezing the bar so hard. You know, once they lift it out of the rack, I'm squeezing it. I'm pulling it out in my lats. I'm making sure my arms are straight. That's a big key. I think a lot of people are messing up in the band shirts if they've done poly. Is a lot of people will take it out in their lats and try to bend the bar like this, um, and take it out in their lats only. And what I found easier is you still take it out in your lats, just not as extreme at the beginning. And when you're receiving the bar, you take it out and you turn your arms the other way. So it's almost like when you lock it out from a
Yeah.
press, that's how you accept the bar because it's going to expand that chest plate of the band shirt, and you're going to sit in those sleeves a little better than a poly sleeve. And so I make sure my arms are really straight and tight, and still in my lats, but just not as hardcore as they would be in a poly. Um, and then it's just kind of second nature from there, bringing it down and hope for the best. Like I never really hope, I kind of know if it's there or not. But
Yeah. And so, kind of going into a meet or even just a heavy bench, maybe what are some of the routines, or maybe like walk us through like what preps you for a big bench day.
what's helped me recently, starting from the bottom, my feet, I don't know what they're called. My fiance Shelly had me do this once. You kind of you lock your knee in place on the ground, like straight leg it, and then you screw your kind of like you're rooting on a squat. Do 6 second holds like that each leg, 6 sets of six each leg, and it just really fires up and gets those glutes activated. And that's like the first thing I do on bench day, right when I get to the gym. And so that way I'm tight, my legs are tight. Um, and then I'll do that. And then set up, I think that's what you asked about, set up.
It's no, like
Going,
the kind of like the prep going into like a heavy bench day or heavy meet, like the I don't know, like you wake up at a certain time or you
oh,
eat a
gotcha,
certain
sorry.
breakfast, things like that.
Like during, I get so nervous before meet. I get more nervous during the before meet at like a local meet when I'm just going for a number than like an Arnold or like the baddest bench or like the meet next weekend. I won't be as nervous as I was 2 weeks ago. Um, I think it's just because it's just me out there going for a number, not necessarily. So, anyways, I can't eat much.
Yeah,
So I try to eat. I'm like drinking shakes, eating Uncrustables, drinking chocolate milk, just trying to get some calories in. But I needed to do a lot better job of just actually eating solid food because I think that's what hindered my performance a little bit this past meet. Why it took me 3 times. I wouldn't didn't have a ton of solid good carbs in me or protein, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't. I'm nervous before a meet. Not really nervous before training. There's no real mental preparation. I kind of think about what I'm going to lift that training day. Um, but I try not to be too serious because I've learned that like when I'm too serious going into training, I don't do good. I'm overly, I don't know, my body doesn't like it. Overly tense maybe, but I'm not super jokey either. It's kind of have to find a happy medium there. But yeah, and then I just go into it almost like any other just training day that I'm going into.
yeah.
Nothing too crazy.
I found that's kind of similar to me. I guess if you look back kind of like a year ago, I'd be more either overly aggressive and overly amped up, and then I end up missing it because I hyped myself up,
Yep,
or I'd try to be like too calm, and then I just wouldn't be firing in all cylinders. So I think finding that happy medium is definitely
exactly.
better for your performance.
Yeah, yeah, it was for me. I could not shake the jitters, the anxiety this past meet, no matter what I did. Um, but yeah, I need to figure out how to control that on a meet day. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and so at CTX, obviously I know it's like a semi-popular gym. Maybe tell us a little bit about kind of your crew down there and kind of what some of the other guys that you trained with do.
Yeah, so owned by Alan Philly, who has done the WPO 2 or 3 times, but got a 1102 squad under his belt. Um, I think he just benched 865 Banter this past meet, the storm meet that everyone did.
Yep, that's where I was at.
Oh, okay, perfect. Then you saw it, yeah. Alan Philly, you got Buddy Tolley, who's squatted 1,000. I think he's got 1,003 or 1,008 squat under his belt. I think he's gonna start training for 1,000 pound bench. I think that's what he wants to do next. Chad Robinson, who's just recently did the past WPO and squatted his first 1,000 pounds. Um, so we got multiple 1,000 pound squatters in there. We got a guy named CJ, who's a raw squatter, who is capable. He's done it in training. He squatted over 1,000 in training. He
Oh
just
wow.
hasn't put it together in the meet. But that'll happen. It's crazy. Um, I know I'm forgetting people. Shelly, my fiance, who's got broke the world record in a band shirt at I want to say 148. I think
Yeah.
that's the weight class. 148 with a 446 band shirt bench. It's since been broke, but she's done that. And then Tara Duncan, I think who most people know, done multiple WPOs. Really good spotter, really good bencher. Um, yeah, that's the main crew down there that we got going. I might have missed a few people, but yeah, it's a good crew. Everyone's there most of the time training. It's a good laid back environment, but serious when you need to get serious. So it's great. It's a great gym, great environment.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of makes me love the multiplayer community so much is the environment and the just the need for others helping just makes it so much more cohesive. And I think I've probably brought it up on the podcast a few times before, just the difference in communities between raw and multiply, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's just night and day.
hmm Yeah, the gym I used to train at in Georgia before I moved down here, Marietta Barbell. Started there, it was heavy gear. Since I left, I've seen that it's gone more towards the raw USAPL, USPA. Nothing wrong with them, but gone more towards that way. And I'm not there, but I can see the difference of when I first started, like the cohesiveness, the team. Not that there's not a team, but it's not like it was. I love, yeah, that's the thing with the gear community. Like you just said, it's you have to experience it. It's different. It's awesome.
So if you could maybe think of a few of your like favorite moments in powerlifting, whether it be something that you did or something that you've witnessed, what would you say?
My one of my favorite, most memorable things I've done is 2019. I was in the hospital with pretty bad sickness. Um, Not to get into a long thing, but I was like had a 33% chance to live.
Oh wow.
Said I wasn't going to powerlift anymore. The doctor said I wouldn't be able to powerlift anymore. Lost like 60 pounds. Had to relearn how to walk. Um, but then I think it was 6 or 8 months later, I did my first meet back, and I benched a 727. So that not a big lift for me per se, but a huge lift for me. You
Yeah.
know, my first 900 pound bench is memorable, and the first Arnold because Dan Day he was doing it, and they were introducing us, and he was like, "I don't know who you are, but good luck." And I was like, "All right." Like I wasn't anybody, but just hearing that, I was like, I wanted to say like, "All right, you don't know who I am, but you will by the end." I didn't say it. Then I ended up winning the meet, and I was like, I should have said it. But and then of course my fiance hitting that world record, that was awesome. She's beat breast cancer once. It's come back. She's beaten it again, and so you know, first time in a band, not first time, first meet, go out and hit an all-time world record. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is that kind
Yeah.
of where the shirt came from?
Oh yes, this shirt. I was
Yeah.
like, huh? Yeah, this shirt, and this says on the back it's got Shelly Strong on it. I don't know if you can see. CTX, the gym made it.
That's awesome.
Got together, got this. That's why it's got a little bit of orange in it.
Yep.
Um, so when she got diagnosed again, they just came together, made shirts, and surprised her at the gym with it. It was really cool.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
I guess outside of that, maybe some of the influences you've had along the way as well.
Yeah, Curtis Leslie in my first team, Marietta Barbell. Well, actually, that's not my first team. North Georgia Barbell. I don't know if you. That's my first team. John Grove actually found me at Kroger. Saw me at Kroger, stopped me in the parking lot. This big dude just pulls up in his truck. He's like, "Hey," I'm like, Hey. And then he was like, I was wearing an Elite FTS shirt, a t-shirt at the time. He was like, I see you wearing that shirt, blah, blah, blah. If you want to come down, train, you're more than welcome. I went down that next weekend and started squatting. So he really got me into, so he's a big influence, although I don't know where I'd be if, if he didn't track me down. I wanted to powerlift, didn't know where to start. And so he kind of pulled me in. Curtis Leslie owns Marietta Barbell. Couldn't be a better dude. Huge power lifter in his day. Him and KT, the whole family over there, they're awesome. As far as inspirations on like bench, the people I looked up to, the big names. Canelli's my all-time favorite. Mendelssohn, another all-time favorite. I looked up to Cole before Cole was Cole. When it was funny because I don't know what his numbers were, but uh, Curtis at my gym, he was like, this dude, he saw him in the magazine. He's like, I think he's going to be the best. He's the best, I think, right now. And he was like 242. And little did we know he'd do what he did. So him and I looked up to Greg Powell as well. He was benching eights in single ply when I was like in the low sixes. And I was like, I want to do that. Those guys, yeah, really inspired me. Still do to this day. And it's kind of crazy that I get to compete with those now.
Kind of funny that you say you got kind of called out at a Kroger because it kind of makes you think about just some of the freak monsters out there that are just in the gym and don't really know how to get into powerlifting or even just don't really look forward to a meet or competing, but could just have some world record potential.
Yeah, I think that's how like Eric's photo started. He was just mentioning the gym, and somebody's like, "Dude, you can like break the record right now," like stuff like that. Yeah, so it's crazy.
Yeah. Um, So do you train your bench raw decently as well? Or are you mostly just doing? You said you do like other equipped implements like the bench daddy and things like that. But I guess maybe how often do you train your raw bench?
When I'm getting ready for a meet, like in meet prep, I don't do it raw at all. I might do a random raw speed day. I don't do normal speed work, but I might throw in a random raw day. But as far as going heavy, I just haven't recently. I'll always tweak something. I'll get my ego will get in the way and be like, let's see what I can do today, and then tweak it back to something like that. So dumb. And so when I'm training equip, I just want to go equip, or a device. After this meet, I do want to do more raw training, get my raw bench up again. It's fun. It's something different instead of handling these crazy loads for a while. I've always wanted to bench 600 raw. I don't know if that's possible right now. Every time I go heavy, not I just train to go heavy. I tweak something, but I just have to maybe just try and be a little smarter with it. But that'd be something cool to hit. The 600 raw bench is, more people are doing it these days. But for me, it would just be cool to say I did it. Who knows?
Yeah, it is definitely crazy just to see how much the I guess like the totem pole is shifting in
Yeah,
terms of just. I mean, 10 years ago, a 500 pound raw bench was very rare. Now you're starting to see 600, so it's just crazy to see the progression of the strength in the sport.
yeah, it's great, especially these raw guys, man. Nobody's pulling eight, and then all of a sudden everyone's doing 1,000. And it's like, what is happening? What just happened? Like, it's not what they're taking.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit, but I have no idea. It's crazy. Like, it's just somebody, a lot of it probably the internet and all the access people have to other people,
Yeah.
but it's insane to watch some of these guys.
So, as far as the powerlifting community as a whole, maybe some of the politics behind it, what are some of the major issues that you see that you think should be changed?
I, I don't really know. The one thing I would try to do, probably like most people, is just do away with so many federations.
Yep.
Like, let's limit it. I don't know how many there are, but let's try to get it down to 10, and then go from there. There's so many. You got your big ones that most people do, but still, there's. I think if we could break it down to like three or four, we could maybe get on TV. Maybe people can start making money. Maybe we can get it out there somewhere. But there's so many, and maybe not label like USAPL. Maybe not label it drug free, because whether or not the other ones are or not, it makes it look like they are. Whether you know what I mean, whether they claim it. So like that probably doesn't help the sport either. It probably helps them in the Olympics or whatever, the IPA or IPF. But um, yeah, I would just limit that. And I don't know, I'm picky on the bench or the benches, and is the bench compared to the squat, because in the squat in gear you can do briefs, single ply briefs, multiply briefs, squats, do knee reps. On a bench you get one bencher. You can do different many plies, but that's all you get. And I'm not saying I want more. It's just weird to me that there's so many restrictions. Like you can't be past your elbows, and then you can't wear like an insert on some. If you're wearing a band shirt, you has to be one piece. It's like, well, this is called unlimited. Let's make it make sense a little bit. It's not a big deal. It's nothing I would go and try to voice my opinion about, but it would be cool to see like a little bit. Like, all right, you wear a two-ply shirt, band shirt. Let's throw a, and you can buy an insert. Let me wear the insert in the meet. Like these things are expensive.
Yeah, and you kind of actually brought up like the two main points that I kind of think are the bigger things that need to be changed because, just like you were saying, like if it's going to be called unlimited, then why is it limited?
Yeah, you're exactly. SPF, I think, it doesn't let you wear more than three plies. I mean, I think the last owner or president of SPF didn't like the ban shirts, and I think that's why he did that. And it might be changing, but still, like, it's called unlimited. As long as you're not going nuts and like wearing 15 plies, which nobody's gonna do, let people wear the inserts or the figure eights underneath without being attached.
Yeah, for sure. And then as far as the multiple federations, I think that's something that I've kind of been on the train of thought for a while too. Is just the idea of just all these new federations popping up and there being so many out there just because some people wanted to make some money or they have a problem with one federation so they start their own. Um,
Yep.
it definitely kind of spreads out the money, and obviously powerlifting doesn't have a lot of money in it compared to bodybuilding, but I think you're right where it's if there's only a few they'd be able to get a lot more funding and probably be able to raise a lot more
Yeah.
I guess attention to the one. Like I think that's one of the good things about the USAPL is it does have a really big crowd, especially with like the younger athletes, but I think all these other federations and kind of like especially like the WPO, like back then it used to be on ESPN and it was a big thing and it made gear very popular. But I think now, like you said, there's just so many that it's so spread out and it also makes it very confusing for kind of people trying to get into the sport. They're like, what fed do I do? What division? What age? There's just so much that it can kind of overwhelm someone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And if you limit the or bring the amount of federations down, there's going to be more competition for everyone.
Yeah.
It's going to limit the amount of meets, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But I mean, maybe it won't because those meat promoters could, join together and then put on different meats. Anyways, um, but yeah, there's going to be more competition in that too. And then like you said, I think there's going to be more prize money, which everyone wants, regardless of how good you are. You don't. There's prize money for huge meets for huge lifters. Let's get some money for the not as heavy big lifters that are just coming up or something, so they have a chance to buy new gear or pay for their next travel or pay to go to a seminar or something to get back. You know what I mean? Like, let's get money for everyone involved, not just the top of the top people.
Yeah, and kind of to be a little bit of devil's advocate, I do think that you're definitely starting to see a lot more like local smaller meets being able to get some sponsors and actually get a little bit of prize pool to. I mean, if you can go to a meet and walk away with your meet registration, hotel, and dinner paid for, then you had a great day. You can't really complain
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that is great. Yeah, the meet we just did, local meet, state meet, um, had prize money. So that's cool. It wasn't a ton, but like you said, it's something. So and that's good. It's heading in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, and I think the main thing too is I think the important part of having these meets that do get a little bit of fundraising and sponsors for is being able to not only give back to the lifters, but be able to kind of give back to the gym that's holding it as well as the judges and the spotting crew.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those guys definitely need to get paid. Spotters and the judges as well, but spotters have the most work during the day,
Oh,
besides
absolutely.
maybe the handlers of the lifters. Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is something that I talk about too. Is I think spotting and loading is easily the most exhausting and stressful part of a meet. I
100%.
if you had to kind of maybe rank it from like lifter to judge to spotter and to handler, like easiest to hardest, what would you put that order in?
Easiest is lifting.
Yep.
Easiest is easy. You stress yourself out, but you're not doing near as much work as. And then I would probably put probably handler, depending on how many you have. Maybe you have more, but let's say you have one.
Yeah.
They're probably stressing out. They're running back and forth. They're making sure you got food, water, your knee wrap, whatever. And then probably and then judge or which one am I going? So easiest is handler, and then no, and then maybe judge. I don't know. Judge could be stressful. I never judge,
Yeah.
but is I think it might be right there with handler. It might be 1A and 1B, but then the toughest for sure the spotting.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why like I like the meets, the local meets that kind of gets everyone, I guess, compensated. I don't think people should, but I do think at the same time people shouldn't be just judging and spotting and loading for meets to get paid. I think it's more of like a reward for kind of giving back to the community, and if it
Oh yeah,
allows you to pay for your next competition, then it's kind of just going around in a circle and helping everybody out.
yeah, yeah. It's just like icing on the cake. Yeah, exactly.
So I know you said you have that meet coming up and then you're done for the rest of the year. Maybe what are some of your goals for next year and kind of what you're looking forward to?
Well, it all depends on what happens this meet, honestly. So if I hit 1,000 poly this meet, then I'll probably be done with poly for a while, not forever, probably, but for a while I'll be. If all perfect meet, I want to go 1,300 this meet. Um, Colba's going to put the number so high; it's going to put it at 15 at some point.
Yeah.
I took 1405 in the gym to one board, but I didn't press it. I took it down though, but I handled it well. It didn't freak me out in my hands like I thought it would. I handled it better than I thought. I had a figure eight on underneath it. I just didn't have the right one. Could I have still pressed it? I don't know. But I would, I maybe take a crack before he ups the record. Maybe take a crack at 1405 to get the heaviest lift. Because I've handled it, so I'm not. I know I could handle it at least.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. And I mean, me's completely different story, but um, I don't ever want to go 15. I don't. That that's insane. That's too much for me. Like I'm 280 pounds. This dude is not taking anything away from him, but I'm not willing to go up to 320, 330 pounds to bench. I'm having a hard time walking around at 280. So I can't, my body won't be able to handle 15 uh, at this weight. So, and then I want to do full power, like I said, full power, probably poly. I think training, I could probably get a 3,000 total in a band shirt. Um, if I did full power, that would be cool, but it's not a goal of mine. It's not been getting a big total in a poly. That'd be really cool. Benching 9+ in a full meet would be cool. Just little things like that. Got to get my 1,000 pound squat under my belt. If I do that, bench 1,000, I don't know. Maybe do something raw.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows? Raw's still fun. I've done it all. So, um, and I like it all. I like watching everything. The raw freaks out there is insane. Then I love watching the gear. The technicians of the gear too. So.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the lifters I kind of enjoy watching the most are the ones that actually do, I guess, all divisions and kind of have fun with all of it. And at the end of the day, being able to express like your raw strength is, to me, still going to be the most impressive.
Mhm.
Obviously, gear takes a skill and it's just a different sport. Like I say, I compare it to long jump versus pole vaulting. But
Yeah.
I think that
100%.
someone who can be good, strong, raw has a higher ceiling in gear.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be good,
Yes.
but I do agree that they do have more potential for sure. I would love to see some of these huge raw guys try getting a shirt. I would, but I wouldn't because then they, get more competition. Like a Julius Maddox, I don't want to see him in a band shirt, but it would be cool to see Hornstra in a shirt, even though he's got like a super close grip, but it'd be fun to see these guys. I don't think they'd ever do it, but it'd be fun to kind of see a little crossover, just see what they can do.
Yeah, and now and it's funny you say that because being around gear too. Now I see some of these like huge freaky raw lifters like watching the Ghost Clash and the American Pro, and then I'm like, oh well, they have a very wide squat stance and a very wide bench. I wonder how their carryover would be in gear and what kind of crazy numbers they could put up.
Yeah, yeah, they just have to learn the gear. And being that advanced raw, I don't think it would take as long to learn the gear for them.
For sure.
So yeah.
So I think we can kind of wrap things up here. So I'll ask you my final question: if you could give a new powerlifter or someone going into their first meet a word of advice, what would that be?
Oh man, have fun. Make sure you have fun. If you're not having fun, it's not worth doing. There's been a time where this kind of seemed like work, and I wanted to not do it anymore. I'm sure everybody's been there. Make sure you're having fun. Don't, if you're doing, your first meet, have goals, but don't go crazy about hitting certain numbers. Try and go, try and hit the list. Try and go 9 for 9 if you can. Try to go 8 for 9. You're gonna have a lot more fun, be more successful. Want to do the next one? Worry about big numbers. Worry about don't cut weight. Worry about cutting weight later. And just take your time. It's everyone says it, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's 100% true. Take your time, learn the technique. If you're in gear, learn the gear. You're gonna, when you look back when you're done, you're gonna be happy and proud of yourself that you did. You're gonna enjoy it way more. So just take your time with it. Don't rush it.
Awesome. I think that's some great advice. Well, I want to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.